these multi-use, mixed-use facilities are all-encompassing. Banks, schools, restaurants, post offices, shopping, everything, not just a storage center and a bank. That's not multi-use, mixed family.
Car wash.
Or car wash. So you can get away with higher density because those people won't have to go anywhere if it's all on site.
It's not 4 stories.
Yes, Wanda.
Kind of building on what Brian was saying, going back to the Waimama Village, WBR2, do we have any examples of a successful village in Hillsborough County? Because it's my opinion, going through the Waimama Village Community Plan update, villages don't work. So if there is an example of a successful village, I'd like to know that.
And I personally know some on my end that I love to visit, but is there, I don't know from a planning standpoint.
I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by village. I mean, I think that Winthrop, like,
Yeah.
if you're talking about development, some
We're
people might
talking
think
about
that feels like a
WBR2.
village.
Yeah, and the WBR2 is Waimama Village. Waimama encompasses 25 square miles. So we have a village of 25 square miles where we're supposed to have the downtown development, not just the nail salon and car wash, but, restaurants. We're supposed to have a downtown core with residential built around that, in a village concept. And it hasn't worked since 2006, when the initial plan was in place. Never built out as a village. And then I believe that years ago, Triple Creek was supposed to be built out as a village, which it wasn't. So do we have a successful village concept in that perspective?
I don't know that there's an RP2 or a Waimama Village project that's all the way built that has both the residential and non-residential built in it, to my knowledge. Yeah, now I don't want to speak for the development community, but what traditionally has held is that you need the rooftops. Publix won't come in until there's a certain number of customers in the area, that sort of thing. So I don't know that, I believe in Triple Creek, they have some land set aside for non-residential uses, but they just haven't had the market demand for it. One thing that I want to make sure to mention, because it's come up a couple of times here, is about focusing some of the density in the city. So the city of Tampa has its own comprehensive plan, and so that's not what we're meeting. We're talking about unincorporated Hillsborough County. There are going to be meetings probably later this year about the city of Tampa's comprehensive plan. There's also a comprehensive plan for Plant City, and they're looking at growing and annexing in that eastern part of Hillsborough County. And there's a comprehensive plan for the city of Temple Terrace. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knows, this plan does not govern the city of Tampa. So we can't say, put all the density in the city of Tampa. That's another discussion for another time. So.
Well, and that makes our planning kind of impossible, because Tampa's the driver of so much of what happens, and how can we make plans if we don't get to know what their plan is, and we can't influence what they do, right? And so, but back to the point about could the comprehensive plan have more either teeth or specificity? When it says mixed use, that commercial doesn't mean yet another car wash or another storage facility, right? Where it's, if that point can be more defined, or these things will not count, or there has to be, we already have 4 car washes in Apollo Beach. We don't need another car wash, right? Right, so that sort of commercial will, as it's acceptable depending upon the community. What commercial is needed in that community.
I mean, it's definitely challenging. 15, 20 years ago, it was that there was a CVS, a Walgreens, and on every corner, on the opposite corners. And there still are in some places, but that was, a big market push, and now many of those stores are being converted into other uses. And so it is challenging to know what, we have to have some flexibility in the plan to address changes in the market, changes in the
Yeah.
needs of the community, because, 20 years ago, we didn't have so much shopping at Amazon. And so we had, maybe different needs than we do now. But we can definitely talk about some of those uses. I do want to just say that part of the reason the Planning Commission exists is that we do the comprehensive planning for all 4 local governments. So we do look at making sure they connect together and that they fit together, but I just didn't want you to think that, you all could decide, well, what,
Yeah.
in this meeting, what
And
this
so when
is in
I'm
the city
thinking
of
up,
Tampa's
I'm
plan.
thinking Tampa, and like what you're telling me is, well, we can't tell Tampa what to do.
Well, you can come to those
We can
meetings and
suggest
talk about it.
But, because I'm not suggesting towers in
Yeah, but we might-
Please don't say
the
that.
suburbs.
But we might want to talk about the area around the University of South Florida that's in the unincorporated area. Or, there are places within the unincorporated area that might be appropriate now to start, and there are some towers. So your point is well taken, I just wanted to make sure it was clear for everyone.
One more question, and then I do want to finish, because I know we've only got about 10 minutes before 7. So so I want to make sure everyone's.
Is that when this is scheduled to end? I'm just asking.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I only paid to 6:30, so you'll have to stay on the card, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that, I might be not the right time to say this, but we've been talking about all the things that we need in the traffic and the safety and the health. And one of the things that we haven't planned is all these people are coming with teenagers or kids that are gonna be teenagers pretty soon. There's
Yeah.
nothing for them to do. There's nothing for them to do. And in terms of like within the community, like mixed use, is there a park close to them that they can go and actually spend time or meet with their friends, and that people are not gonna be afraid that they're gonna be vandalizing things? So
Yes.
I wanna throw that out there. I don't know if it's gonna be useful.
Yeah, Laura, that's actually a really great point, because one of our sections that we talked about was our open space. And so within that open space section, we have those regulations where, if we have so many people in one area, there has to be some open space. So maybe that's something that we talk about in there is, how to encourage activities as well within that open space. I do want to ask really quickly. First, I'm going to kind of mix up our discussion questions just a little bit for the sake of time. But right now, I will say, let me move to this. So we're going to be doing 6 public meetings, 3 that are virtual, 3 that are in person, and of course, our project advisory team meetings. We'll have 3 of those. Today's the first one. We had our first public meeting last week, so I guess 7 actually. So 6 more public meetings. We've got our social media, we do our e-blast, we've been on the Tampa Bay Morning Show promoting this, we've been on local news stations. What else can we do to help spread that word, to get into those communities and make sure that everyone's voice is represented within this update? Is there anything else that you can think of that we can do to reach our communities?
Get the Board of County Commissioners to kind of help chip in and get their constituents aware of what's going on, being that they're the ones who put them there, and they're sitting on the board themselves.
Excellent. Our Board of County Commissioners and our Planning Commission, inviting them to be a part of this too. Yes?
Contact all homeowners associations
Homeowners
and
associations?
all the special tax districts.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
There's a
Yes.
website called Nextdoor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next door,
Yeah.
perfect.
I guess like Michael Owen had the local meetings, and he had a sign at the major intersections that a meeting is held. Are you planning posted signs out? I mean, I don't go to
Posted
Facebook,
signs?
so don't do it on Facebook.
Yeah. Posted signs, that's a great idea.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, the intersections. Yes, Chris.
These in-person meetings are where?
So we're having in-person meetings. The next one is going to be in Brandon, actually, on May 16th at the Brandon Park and Rec Center. We are having them throughout the county, so it's not going to be at one consistent location. We're trying to get into our communities and really being able to be there for them.
That's when you
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, but that's an awful small building. That's a very small building as opposed to.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Try the Regent Center.
okay.
Yeah, you might want to plan for more crowd.
We will definitely plan for a large crowd, especially for our public meetings. This one was a very special project advisory team meeting for those of you who were on the invite. For those of you who are here today, we're very glad that you are, so. And next time for our PAT meetings, we'll also make sure that we have a larger space so that anyone who wants to can attend.
Do you have the location for the other meeting?
Not yet, but we will have that very soon. And as soon as we do, everyone in this room who's signed up on our email list will absolutely get that information, and you can help us spread the word about it. Yes, Claire?
I know you spoke about the agenda for the next meeting. Would you remind us what is going to be covered next week? Because it's about 67 miles from my home to where you're thinking.
Sure, so at our next public meeting as well as at our next PAT meeting, so you'll have the opportunity at the PAT meeting as well. We'll talk about those centers and connections, our commercial location criteria, and our transit-oriented development section. And we'd love to have y'all out for that.
What about May 23rd?
The May 23rd will be virtual.
And it's a repeat of the 16th. They're basically,
Correct.
instead of doing a hybrid meeting, because those we found kind of difficult and unwieldy to do in the past, we've decided to separate them out. So if you want to do virtual, you have an option for that. Or if you want to come in person to Brandon, you have an option for that.
Okay, May 16th is repeated on the 23rd.
That's
Yes, they're
correct.
same topics. Maybe not the same discussion, because it depends on who comes.
On ideas, many communities have their own newspapers that are very successful and people read them. And I think Carrollwood and other
Great.
communities, yeah, that like Ospreys and Bloomingdale. So several communities have very robust local community newspapers.
Fantastic.
Probably have to ask community members exactly.
Osprey,
Yeah.
Osprey, one of them.
Osprey?
Yeah, and then, like,
Yeah, we did advertise in the Osprey Observer.
Is that the Shopper Observer?
No,
and having communication in other languages for community members who are not as fluent in English.
Yes.
So that would be important if you share it digitally, then we should share that digitally as well.
Excellent.
And if you,
Put it on
so we
TV?
do that then.
Yes, we've been on TV a couple of times now. I'm excited. It's fun. Thank you so much. That's excellent feedback. Oh, yes.
So the Hillsborough County school meetings are on YouTube. Is this also going to be on YouTube?
So we're recording this now, and we'll be posting that onto our website. And so those links
It
are
is
on
YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I
I don't know how great it's gonna be if
Yeah.
you hear it, honestly. That's the only thing is, you
Yeah.
know, you may not capture all of it.
Right.
Because it's this camera angle on this, so it's,
Right.
you know, it's limited.
But those virtual meetings especially will be really easy to put on YouTube as
Yeah.
well. I would like to ask if anyone who has not said anything today has anything that they wanted to contribute, anything we might have missed.
I do. I was thinking, we were thinking about the roadways and how it's becoming parking lots, and, you know, how tough that's gonna be for us and more we develop. I wonder if anyone is considering, you know, more the people, more cars, more freight, more cargo, right? More trains, more blocking roads, more semis, more freight coming in through the water, through the bay, through the ports, more of everything. Have we considered other ways of transportation, like public transportation, like kind of like New York does in all these big cities? We've got a bay. Do we consider, or have we considered water taxis that can take us from here to McDill or Tampa to St. Pete or wherever, you know, where you can take thousands of people off the road?
Yeah.
You know, it just, I mean, has anyone ever considered or thought of that? You know, it's like, the bay's right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second
We
largest.
actually do have a couple of water taxis that go from like St. Pete to Tampa. But we are definitely looking into that. I know with the long-range transportation plan, with our Hillsborough
We've got a
TPO.
ferry. right? There's like some kind of fair.
So it only goes like
It's
once or
not really,
twice.
yes, it's seasonal, it's not really transportation, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point,
It's not
that's a good
fair.
point. So that's definitely something that we can look into. It's a great idea.
I think we have to add the citizen notice.
And I'm so sorry, I really want to make sure that we hear everybody.
You know what's happening with that transit, I know.
Yeah.
I know, and what it is cargo companies they're more important than we are, right? Because once we start any type of delays, if we start delaying trains, because there's too many of us and you're plugging us up, we don't delay trains, the trains delay us. We don't delay cargo, cargo delays us. You understand where I'm going with that?
Absolutely.
We're not important, they,
I understand.
yeah.
So
So we gotta figure out a way to
people first.
get to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
I was just gonna say, NICOL. It's
Nicole,
okay.
thank you so much.
There is actually a ferry alliance, and they're working on that now. They actually have their first meeting tonight. I missed it, to take the ferry into St. Pete and back. And it's for your vehicles and things of that, because they know that the roads are being taxed. And it's coming out of the Ruskin Sun City area, because we have a lot of the military that live down that way that need to get to McDill. So they're doing that now, they're actually working on that. If I get your information, I'll be more than happy to forward, and they can that on to you.
Nicole, thank you so much. That's great. Amy.
Michael Owens is the one that stopped that.
I was supposed to be in that fair.
It's for the resident.
And I see somebody's.
We will have some efforts at you to make
Water taxis.
and help answer these questions.
Michael Owens is the one, District 4, Michael Owens is the one.
Okay, I will get your email.
And I did just get information that we will have someone at our main meeting for the public from the TPO to help answer some of these more minute questions as well. Christopher.
Yeah. So I work for Hillsborough County Fire Rescue. I'm also a rescue officer in our local as well. I've been on the job for 27 years. Kind of piggyback a little bit on what Samara was referring to about health and safety at home. And so Hillsborough County Fire Rescue develops basically a comprehensive plan of themselves, kind of like what I would like the community plan, but it's not necessarily has to be followed or whatnot. You can see that there's a lot of density issues that come. I think in District 4, there's 120,000 residents that we can't get to in 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
That's with everybody being in the station all at the same time. Of course, when someone's out on a call, that would vary. You got 30,000 residents per ambulance out there. So that, of course, not everybody uses an ambulance at the same time. Thank goodness. But with this future land use, and it kind of goes into what you're talking about with having everything and having the developers come in. Do you see any way that it can be placed into kind of, again, Mr. O'Brien, is that correct? Yes. Kind of alluding to as well, having check marks and benchmarks and things set aside. If we don't have stations, we don't have the ability to get to you, you're relying on each other. So if it's anything outside of 10 minutes, if you have a heart attack, a respiratory arrest, or a massive bleeding, you're dead. That's the reality of it. Unfortunately, that's the case. We just had a case out in the Valrico area where 3 family members died in a trailer park. Now, it was kind of in a rural area, kind of out there on 39, but the point being, that happens in the does it need to happen? Maybe, maybe not. Certainly, I don't want anyone to be injured. I would be doing my job. Dedicated to the last 30 years. But I think what we got to also look at is not so much just what we're talking about, car washes and those kind of things like that. Great. I wash my car every 2 weeks as well. I love it. But at the same time, we got to worry about our infrastructure. It's not just water and sewer, the concurrent needs. It should be those other things that go hand in hand with life issues, life safety. And I know we talk about traffic zones being part of our master plan. I say our, the fire rescue master plan considers those things. But how do you see any of that folding into the future land use? Because 20 years from now, I can tell you right now, at this moment, as I speak, we're 22 fire stations behind what we projected back in 2000, or mid-2000. 22. All y'all live in this area, 22 stations, I'm telling you, right now. So that's just to catch up to where we should be.
Wow.
That's like putting 4 lanes on Lithia Pinecrest, should be 6 lanes. And if you have 2 lanes, that's the kind of how far we are behind. So, you know, we have 1.5 million residents living here. We have 1.1 roughly living in the unincorporated area. We ran 140,000 calls last year. That's a 28% increase. So how do you see that in the future land use? The planning commission holding that in, because I hear a lot of stuff about it. I've been a resident for 35 years. I've lived in all over the place, unfortunately. I live in Lutz now, and that's kind of a goofy area about urban rural interface up there. Love it, but at the same time, it's growing and it's trying not to. But how do you see that happening? Because unless we start putting the hooks in and the thumb screws to some of these developers, if you're in this room, come talk to me. I'll be happy to talk to you about anything about that. You all have to set aside some pieces of land. Quit squeezing every, what is it over here? Someone said about 1 house per acre, now it's 72 per 18. I mean, come on. Can you let a couple 100,000 go? I mean, honestly, that's where we are now. That's where we are. So we need to think about that. And it's not, and our commissioners know this. I'm down there talking, I'm knocking on the door, and I'm talking to them as well. But this is something that the planning commission, again, I'm not sure when the authority, and I'm looking at the ladies down there, and I'm barking at you, I'm just trying to, I'm passionate about this because, you know, our men and women out there who are serving, you all in this room, whoever lives in this county, presumably everybody, that we're busting our humps out there and we're getting worn down because 25,000, 30,000 new people are moving in every year. It's been happening, you know, we have roughly 1.5, 2% growth over the last 10 years or so per year. 2015, we had a huge spike in housing and building. Here we are yet, 22 stations behind. Water in South Tampa, putting a new water main down there in South County, right? So thankfully, what happens? You got no water, I turn the hydrant on, everyone's faucets turn off, or I can't get water for your house. I mean, so all these things all fold in together. So we really need to think about the planning commission, once again, does just need to think about that part of it. That's an integral part because we can't get to you. Either you're going to lose your property or lose your life. Simple facts. So if there's something to put on the board, I don't know how that, all that will hold into it, just something for you, just to think about and how that works into it.
That's a really great point, Christopher. You know, I think,
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a wonderful point. I think it can definitely tie into our future land use update as we move forward, and we'll continue to look at how it can. I love that.
Yeah, I know that we are pretty glad that, I don't know if someone was responding to me directly, I saw a couple of hands in the back here, but again, thank you very much. I mean, however we can do that, I think that's something that needs to be considered.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to do her, and then I'll get to you one, I promise. Yeah, are you sure? Okay.
I just want to say that Plain Hillsborough is doing what they do. They better not do it. It was a legislative act in 2011 that took the transportation concurrency away. So do you want us as residents to put pressure on the legislature to bring transportation concurrency back to our comprehensive plan?
Yes.
One, I think you make a really great point, which is this is the way you make change. Being involved in these types of discussions, voting, going to your commissioners, going to your policymakers and your lawmakers and saying, this is what we want. And that's why we have open meetings, that's why we have public meetings, is because we, you know, I think everyone here that at Plain Hillsborough, you know, we want your input. We want to hear your feedback so that we can incorporate it. And absolutely, going to your lawmakers to tell them what you want is vital. Yes.
2 seconds.
Okay.
She's right.
She's right.
I made the point 100 times, but my point added to what she said, you're right,
Yeah.
citizens have to communicate.
Yeah.
Transportation concurrency isn't working.
Hmm.
But Hillsborough County must send the same message to the state legislators that it's not working for our county. Because it's not just us citizens, it needs to be, the county needs to say, listen, it's not working.
Well, you know, it's interesting because one of the things you'll see on the Board of County Commissioners website is an org chart. And at the top of that, you've got your departments, you've got your planning departments, you've got, you know, all of the admin, you've got your board. And above that board are our residents. And that's very important to know, is that they report to you, you know, just like we do. So, you know, really making sure that you communicate with them is excellent. I love that point. Yes, go ahead.
I'll stand up so people can hear me.
Okay.
My name is Tammy Corbett. I'm a land use lawyer for the Ward Henderson. I represent people developers all over. So really a couple points. People are, I don't think there's any disagreement even within the development community. And I'm a senior member of TBBA, which is the Builders Association, also NAP, the Commercial Real Estate Association. There is widespread agreement that infrastructure needs to be addressed. NAP, and I think leading TBBA has supported the transportation tax for that. NAP and TBBA supported the increase to the fire impact fee.
And then the state put a cap on it, right?
The state put a cap on it, which all you have to do is have extraordinary circumstances, 2 more hearings, it's no big deal. So, but we did support those fee increases, and I think everyone's agreed. We were part of, the development community is part of how we got roadway improvements to put the school in South County. That was a private, that was not my, Lennar is a client, but I didn't work on that deal. That was a public-private partnership where Lennar agreed to pay over and above what they would normally be able to pay to do the school, the road improvements for the school. So really what the dispute is who should be the funding source? And should the funding source be new developers who didn't create the 22 backlog and the backlog of the roads, or should ad valorem dollars be directed? We definitely would advocate for that. One of the tools that was taken away from all of us in 2016 by the county that the county can control is they used to allow developers to do developer-funded improvements and then receive impact fee credit. So they would have an incentive to do, pay more than what they would be required to pay. We lost that ability in 2016. So most of the roads that were built in South County were developer-funded roadways, and that's how they got constructed. 2016, the county changed that, and they took away the incentive to do that. And technically, county could go back to transportation concurrency, but you wouldn't be able to stop development for that because it's all the backlog. And so we've got a backlog, and I think everyone is in agreement that we've got to figure out a way to fund that backlog, and then make sure policies are in place that the fees that you're charging for new development are adequate to offset those.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken yet who would like to say something about anything we've discussed today? All right, with that being said, I know that we are at time. This has been a fantastic discussion. I do encourage you to go to our website, check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Again, this recording will be available, and we will be in communication with you by email. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.